Welcome to Porch Conversations, where the porch is open, the light is on, and the truth is waiting. I'm Asha. How you guys doing? I know it's been a little while. Sorry, you guys. I've been being a mother.
I was home with my kids. Bitch, I'm a mother. No drama.
I've been busy. I've been busy, and right now she's asleep. I have just a short amount of time, so I'm gonna try to get this out. So stick with me, okay? So first of all, the premise of this YouTube channel is to talk about dating, music, and movies. First two episodes we talked about dating, but I'd like to, zhuzh it up a bit. We're gonna talk about movies this time. So I have my notebook here because I said, I only got so much time. I'm gonna be referencing my book as I do. Let's get into it. So, first of all, if you know me, you know that I love movies. And when I say I love movies, I mean I was the type of person that was watching the special features. I was watching the special edition. I was watching the director's cut with the commentary. Okay, I was the type of person that whenever a movie would come out and I'd finish watching it, I'd immediately run to IMDb because I'm like, I want to know the trivia. I want to know the behind the scenes. I am that person still to this day. And so, I want to talk about the movies that raised me, but also perhaps maybe ruined me. And I feel like for my 90s babies, it might have been the same for you guys too. So first of all, Forrest Gump, The Princess Bride, Shrek, Austin Powers, and an honorable mention is Lord of the Rings. Again, if you know me in person, you know in real life, I love Lord of the Rings. Like, I haven't gotten a tattoo yet, probably will at some point, but Lord of the Rings is my bread and butter. My grandmother used to pick me up from school, and we used to walk to the movie theater, and we would go see Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, James Bond. You know what I mean? We would go see all of those movies because, my grandmother is also into movies, perhaps not to the same degree that I am, but you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. So anyway, the point of this episode is to talk about what was these movies really teaching us. Do they have rewatchability value, and as an adult, but also, did these movies shape us? Or shape our personalities or our love lives? Because, listen, what we're about to get into, I think it might make you, shift how you view these movies. So first of all, with Forrest Gump, you guys, Forrest Gump is the first movie that ever really put me onto neurodivergency. And being someone that is definitely neurodivergent, I've got all the acronyms: ADHD, I'm bipolar, I've got depression, you feel me? I've got all the things. It was really refreshing, I guess, as a young adult, or not even a young adult because I was a kid when I was watching Forrest Gump, but it was really refreshing to see someone displayed or portrayed that way in the media. Now, again, I have plenty of thoughts and we're going to get into them. But when you really think about it, like, the only other movie that came out around that time, I think, is like What's Eating Gilbert Grape. And I'm not even going to hold you. I don't know anything about that movie. As far as I know, Johnny Depp was in it, and he was like he was mentally developed. He was a little troubled, you know what I mean? And then his mom was like really big. That's all I got so far. I don't know anything about the movie. All I know is anytime anyone ever spoke about it, it was a situation, oh, that movie was super sad. I'm good on that. Anyway, so as I mentioned, Forrest Gump and then Princess Bride, Robin Wright is in both of these movies. She's Jenny, but she's also Princess Buttercup. We'll get into it. When it comes to Jenny, she is, depending on who you are and what sort of women you've been around and just how you live life, you may look at Jenny as a villain. I don't think that she is. However, this does not absolve her of the shit that she did. She treated Forrest like shit. She used him often. And in the beginning, when they first met, you know what I mean, there was a reason for it. But as she got older, she saw how much Forrest loved her. She saw how much and how far Forrest was willing to go for her. And she was just like, yeah, he'll always be on the back burner. That's my man for real. You're my true good friend. Anyway, I want to talk about what did that teach us as kids? Like, because if that movie came out in like 1990, I want to say, I was born in 94, and I remember watching it like for the first time on my own in 5th grade. And I'm going to get into why I'm laughing. But, you know, I mean, like, that was one of the first times I'd ever seen that movie. And it's like just thinking about how Jenny was treating Forrest the entirety of the movie is like, damn, like, not just from the start, but till her death, bro. Like, what is that teaching us as kids in regards to how we treat someone that treats us good when we are in need? Forrest taught us how to love deeply. And honestly, he didn't take things personal. And that's something that like really, really stuck with me, because as often as people were talking shit to him, people were talking down to him, he always had a smile on his face. It was very rare that like something hurt his feelings. Like, people were calling him slow. They were saying all different types of things. He was getting beat up and he was getting chased. And he was just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, that's life. And that is life. Life is like a box of chocolates. You get what you get. But his mother instilled in him to not be worried about what other people thought about him. And that was the main thing. Don't be worried about what these other people think. You have to live your life. Live it. Now, let's get into that. This movie taught me about grief. And like I said, I saw this movie for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but like by myself when I was in 5th grade. And it definitely taught me to emote. Not that I hadn't ever cried watching a movie before. That was definitely the first movie I had watched and cried at. But like, you know, not everybody watches movies and cries, you feel me? Sometimes they just sit and think deeply. I was a child and I was like, damn, this is sad. Because like when his mother died, it was like, aw, man. You know what I mean? But then Jenny, nigga, done left you with a baby. Not only that, you just found out she had AIDS, bro. Heaven almighty. So the thing is like the last thing that I will say about Forrest Gump is... as an adult with a child, yeah, honestly, Jenny fucked him over, bro. She did not set him up properly to be a parent, because Forrest was skirting through life, not only because he was a white man, but because he was developmentally challenged. People weren't paying him mind, so he was just doing whatever the fuck he wanted to do. Literally for a year and some change, that man ran. He just ran because he was sad. He just needed to think. And people just followed after him. They flocked after him. No one asked him, like, hey, what's going on? Why are you doing this? He has a child now. And we don't know if that baby has AIDS. We don't know. The baby is just here. Little Forrest. Y'all, don't get me started. The Princess Bride. Come on now. So... and you know what? One of these days, I'll probably do a redo of this video in addition to adding some more movies that raised me. But as I said, baby's inside sleeping. We gotta go. We gotta move. With The Princess Bride, this is a movie that my mom made me watch so many different times. And honestly, it's like there are so many different scenes about this movie that just instantly make it a classic. The fact that it was made in the 80s. We've got Andre the Giant. Robin Wright. And she was an up-and-comer. You know what I mean? She was doing what she needed to do. But first of all, what I will say, the main thing about this movie that always had me in a chokehold, that like truly taught me about true love, is Wesley in the beginning saying, as you wish. And it's like, you guys, that man loved that woman deep. And it's like, as you wish, I love you. He didn't feel comfortable enough to say that, but he wanted to let her know. And she understood just by him Hey, can you grab that for me? Can you fetch those pots and pans for me? As you wish. And he's staring her in the eyes as he's doing it. Hey, she said, you guys, stop, hold on. This is probably one of the only times you guys are gonna see me not on my porch, but I just want to physically act out this scene for you. So, Inigo Montoya. Hold on. You killed my father. Wait, I gotta start over. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Guys, I don't give a fuck how goofy that looked. When I saw that for the first time, I was like, whoa, like this is cinema. Because like the plot points, the I can't even think of what the word is, but the fact that very first thing we meet about this man, he's a Spaniard. His father was killed by a man with 6 fingers on his left hand. He said, I am on a mission. I am going to kill that man. I'm going to avenge my father. And that's exactly what he did. The moment he saw that man, he said, yo ass is grass. And he fought to the death. That nigga took a sword right to the chest. He got back up and he said, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. I mean, that is, if nothing else, that's dedication. That is dedication, because if you read the book, let's get into it. William Goldman, he wrote an unabridged version of the book, and I believe it's like S. Goldenstern, something like that. I'll make a little thing when I figure William Golden. Anyway, I read that book when I was in high school, and I was like, "Oh, The Princess Bride," and I didn't know what the definition of abridged and unabridged. I had never read a book like that before. So when I finally read it, and it starts talking about like how William Goldman, the director of the movie, not the writer of the book, the director of the movie was talking about how he was going through a divorce at the time, and he loved the book because in the beginning of the movie, the little boy is sick and his grandfather comes to read him the book. That was based off of S. Morgenstern's real life. It was his father reading him a book, and his father had a really heavy accent, and there's so many different things, but it just made me really love the movie more, especially being a teenager, because you get to delve deep into everybody's story. So not only Wesley and Buttercup, but you get to find out about Fezzik. You get to find out about Inigo, and even a little bit about Vizzini. Who gives a fuck about Vizzini? But he's part of the story. So you know what I mean? It's if you guys are readers like I am, definitely get into it. Go to your local library, pick up The Princess Bride, but it has to be the unabridged version by William Goldman. This movie is so 80s because it really makes me think about that last scene in the movie where Wesley is bound. He's just laying there. He's waiting for his body to regenerate, and he's sitting there and he's telling Humperdinck, I'm gonna slay you. I'm gonna cut your ears off, and I'm gonna poke you in the eyes, and all this kind of shit. And mind you, Buttercup was just all of, I love you so much. She was all over him. And then she gets up, and then they jump out of the window. It's so romantic, you guys. It is so romantic. Like, and the thing is like, now that I'm thinking about it, like every single one of these movies has an element of love. I'm a lover girl. We've been talking about this. Like, why wouldn't it be? That the movies that meant the most to me all had romantic aspects to them. But it's like, they're all unorthodox. And that's a perfect segue because now we're about to get into Shrek. You guys, when people ask me, oh, what's your top 5 movie? Shrek, Lord of the Rings, Princess Bride, Pulp Fiction, Ex Machina. And sometimes those last couple ones can be switched out. Almost always Quentin Tarantino is going to be in there, although he and we've got some things to talk about. But he will almost always be in the top 5. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like, this is one of my top 5 movies. I watched this movie so many times as a child that I dead ass would, whenever the movie would end, I would rewind the VHS. Yeah, we're talking about VHSs now. I would rewind the VHS, put it back in, and in my little baby mind, I would think, oh, they're getting back in the studio of Cameron Diaz, Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers. They're all getting back into the studio. No, I just rewound the tape. That's it. Shrek subverted our expectations of love. And my thing is, like, when it comes to thinking not just about Shrek, because there's so many things you could talk about with him specifically, but I want to talk about Fiona. Because the thing is like, when we meet Fiona, she's not an ogre. You know what I mean? Or no, we do. No, yeah, she's not an ogre. She's sleeping in the bed. But then we find out, you know, she's jumping through all these hoops so that Shrek and Donkey don't see that she's an ogre. Because the whole time that she's been growing up, she's been told being an ogre is ugly. Being an ogre means that you're not going to be loved. You're not going to find love. And she was under the impression that Prince Charming was on his way coming to get her. And all of a sudden, it's Shrek that pops up and she's like, what the fuck? Excuse me, nigga. What is this? But then she starts to get to know him. And mind you, she been up in that castle most of her life. So it's not that she doesn't know what love is. It's not that she doesn't know how to communicate. But it's like she's finally meeting someone that accepts her for her. Better out than in, I always say, when she farts or when she burps. She's making him breakfast, she's singing, she's helping Donkey, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these things that are happening, but specifically with her and Shrek, my thing is, like, because she was so obsessed with the idea of finding love and it being in the form and the fashion that she was, one, accustomed to, but also she was hoping for, she was like, fuck no, I'm gonna go with Lord Farquaad, even though that nigga's small. That's not what I'm looking for. You make my heart shine. We were frolicking in a sunflower field. We were singing about being monsters. But you don't know that I'm an ogre yet. You don't know. Ah, man. But then the end, when she turns into the ogre and he's like, I love you. This is true love. Anyway. I just think that's so beautiful. It, like, truly subverts your expectation of what love is meant to be, because a lot of the time we are told it's going to be someone that's going to sweep you off your feet, and he's going to be romantic, and he's going to do this, and they're going to do that. And a lot of the time it doesn't work that way. A lot of the time we have to figure out what love looks like to us. And that's what Shrek was teaching us. Love is not going to be packaged and neat in the way that her parents were telling her it was going to be, simply because that's what they were used to. That's what they saw for her. But she knew what was better for her. And the other thing I will say, and we'll just, quickly touch on it, but not for nothing, Shrek and Fiona in Shrek 2 chose to be ogres rather than humans. So, rather than white people. We'll move on. Austin Powers! Listen. Hey! Okay, now we're getting into, like, my teenage years. Austin Powers was that nigga, okay? The thing about Austin Powers is, like, a lot of people, I mean, even now as an adult, I can honestly say there's nothing attractive about him. But I could say as a child, I was like, hell yeah, Austin. The chest hair, the glasses, the teeth, I didn't care. It was his confidence. It was his confidence that would make him hit. You feel me? Because what are we talking about, bro? Beyonce. All those other white women, average. And it's not to say that they're not beautiful, but do you understand what I'm saying? It was the confidence. It was his mojo. Beyonce was like, hell yeah. I don't know that she actually let him hit, but she at least let him get a whiff. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, stick with me. Austin Powers may have been extremely sexual, like overtly sexual, to the point where he was gyrating and he was humping everything that would move. But he was a gentleman. He understood the meaning of consent. He never called a woman out of her name. He was respectful. Okay? And that's much more than we can say for men of 2025. The other thing I will say about Austin Powers is it taught you about family dynamics. Austin was the black sheep. He was a shining star, but he was the black sheep. Compared to his father, there was his father and then Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil was adopted, gave him away, but then once his father was like, hey, I'm around, he was favoring Dr. Evil. And Austin, he was the good guy between the two of them. So, like, to us, the audience, we're like, this isn't making sense. But it shows you the dynamics. Daddy wasn't there. Daddy wasn't there. He chose who he wanted to choose. And it's just, there's so many different things that I could talk about, especially in regards to that. But as I said, time is wasting. What I will say is that being weird was his shtick. And that's what made him sexy. Again, it was his confidence that got him where he needed to be. And often it got him there. Did it not? Okay. Now, you guys, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is Lord of the Rings. And as I said, it's going to be an honorable mention because I will specifically make a video for Lord of the Rings. You guys do not get me started. What I am going to say is that, not for nothing, Lord of the Rings taught me about love. But not just about love. It taught me about loyalty. It taught me about friendship. Who the fuck is this? Someone just... Oh, okay. We're on the porch, you know what I mean? Things are happening. It taught me about loyalty. It taught you about friendship and honesty and honor. They all sat and they said, I will take this ring with you. I will go with you. They didn't know that man from a hole in the wall, but they understood that he was fucking with Gandalf. Gandalf was fucking with him. So he said, hell yeah, I'll do it. And even though they had their doubts, Boromir, even though they had their doubts, they were still willing to do it. They were still willing to sacrifice themselves, Gandalf of all people. But what I want to talk about specifically when it comes to sacrifice, Samwise Gamgee. Get the fuck out of here, okay? Sean Astin did what the fuck he needed to do with that. Because why? I could cry thinking about it now. At the end of the Fellowship of the Ring, Frodo said, this burden is too heavy, y'all. He said to Aragorn, I'm out of here. Can't do it. Aragorn said, by all means, do you. I got this. Cha, 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 cha. Knocking everybody out. Legolas is, Boromir, dead. You know what I mean? Where's Sam? Frodo's on the boat. He looks behind him. Frodo! Sam, what are you doing? Sam's about to get into the water. Frodo's like, you don't know how to swim. Sam jumps into that bitch. He's reaching out. He's about to drown. Frodo grabs his hand. Sam gets in that water and he gets in that boat and he says, Gandalf made me promise to protect you. How many people would you jump into a river for and you don't know how to swim? That's all I'm saying. Hey. Anyway, you guys. You guys, this is so exciting for me. Like, honestly, I want to just talk about this really quickly before I sign off because, you know, a couple of you have been showing up. You guys have been showing love, and that means so much to me, honestly. You guys don't understand. Like, this is something that I've been wanting to pursue for a really long time, and all of your views, your comments mean something to me. I promise they do, even if you don't say anything, because I, too, am a silent watcher. You guys, it's okay. You don't have to feel obligated to respond. You don't have to feel obligated to comment. But if you love me, you know what I mean? Show some love. Share the video, if nothing else. But anyway, that's a wrap from the porch, you guys. The lights are off. I mean, you know, the sun is up. But the lights are off, but the conversation is still going. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week. Bye.